Welcome everyone to Community Services Committee meeting on February 15th. We'll start with the roll call, please.
Ms. Weber?
Present.
Ms. Parker? Present. Ms. Polk?
Present.
Mr. Snipes? Ms. Peters?
Present.
Mr. Tholen? Mr. Carrico?
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Present.
Ms. Bryan?
Present.
Ms. Hudson?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand? Mr. Raymond?
Present.
Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Seroy? We have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today. We have an important decision to make today, and it's really good that you're here to hear the information and make a decision. I don't have any presentations or requests for public comment, so you did receive the minutes, and they were from December 21st. We didn't meet in January, so would someone move that we accept those minutes? Ms. Parker or Mr.
Polk.
Ms. Parker will move. Mr. Kirkster will second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion is approved. We'll go first to a report by Mr. Hendrickson, County Clerk. Would someone move we accept his report? Mr. Eckhoff, Ms. Polk will second it, so it's Eckhoff, Polk. All in favor of accepting his report say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, what would you like to say?
That's it. I'm done. Thanks for having me. Y'all have a great night.
Number 3.
No, anybody have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Otherwise, I'm running.
What about your report? Is it standard report? Nobody-
Yep, not a big shock on anything in any way, shape, or form.
You just started a new year again, year
Yeah.
over again.
Yep.
Okay, and then, excuse me, you have a question from number 8? 8, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yes.
It's a comment, actually. I just want to thank Mr. Hendrickson. I was honored to be at one of the presentations that you gave about the new voting machines, and I was really impressed with what you had chosen as our new voting machines for this year. So
But
thank you.
what about the presenter? How'd you feel about the presenter?
As a speech teacher, I would give you an A. You did quite well. Well planned, well organized.
Glad to see the check cleared. So,
He was you came to Herscher to speak to a teachers group and brought his machines even and gave demonstrations and said how easy it is and it is, and how they, and then the big topper question was how much did they cost and where'd you get the money, and he was able to answer that too. So.
And they were very happy about that.
they didn't appreciate the passing of the hat around for
No,
it. But
that was his first option. He said, first we'll pass the hat to pay for the machines. So the other question, the last question I was going to ask, unless you have one, is what dates do you want us to remember?
The next important date in the election cycle will be March 7th. That will be the first day for candidates for countywide offices, county board, precinct committee persons to file with our office. We will start accepting filings at 8:30, and the last day to file paperwork will be March 14th. A week from that day, and we will be open until 5 o'clock that night. So a little bit different than our normal hours, but
So just a reminder, for each of us in this room, that we need 17 persons.
anybody running for county board, regardless, for any established party, so Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, will need 17 signatures from residents within their district.
Qualifications are registered voters, not necessarily the party of
Registered voters within the district.
within a district, but not necessarily the party that you're running for.
You can cross parties, but you can't sign a Republican petition and a Democratic petition, nor can you circulate a Republican or a petition for 2 different parties.
So that's good information. Anybody, I'm sure you all knew that. I had to remind myself. But anybody else have a question? Okay, thank you very much. Oh, there was one back there. Excuse me, Mr. Snipes, go ahead.
I'm going to reserve mine for the early voting, but I heard that it's best to do it within 21 days versus the 5 days that they say you can supposedly vote by mail. That's what I'm thinking of, the vote by mail.
Early voting begins 40 days before the election.
No, it's the vote by mail is what they were saying. They best that you, so they can get into your office and from the post office to your office.
Certainly, we would recommend that anybody who chooses to vote by mail get it to our office as soon as they've made their decision and not wait until the last moment. We can't speak for the post office.
Right.
So
I was just looking at the electrical and say they prefer that be 21 days in advance, but I think you can go all the way up to 5 days before.
We can accept that. We can receive applications to request the ballot 5 days before the election. That is incredibly tight timing,
right.
because that's the Thursday before the election, so we get it out in the mail from our office on Thursday. They've got to, that presumes that they get it on Friday, they vote their ballot Friday, they put it in the mail on Saturday, there's no mail on Sunday, and that we get it that Monday. There's 1 day of wiggle room there.
Right.
So it can be done, but you know, anybody who calls our office requesting that, at that week, we advise them from beginning that Monday, we can do this and we can send you the application. Here's the issues, and we can't make any guarantees that you'll either get your application on time or we'll get your, as long as the ballot is postmarked on election day, we can receive it up to 14 days after the election.
That's good news, isn't it? That's Brian. 2, 2, 1.
I think it's 7.
I think it's 7. That's what I moved. It looked
Okay.
like.
They have the drop box downstairs, correct?
We will have a drop box downstairs. The drop box that we used in 2020 was the one that the treasurer uses, and the treasurer will be accepting payments at that time. The other concern that we had with the drop box, and that's part of what kind of pushed us to get our own drop box, is that our ballots are a little bit wider than the payments that the treasurer receives. So we had several times where ballots were jammed up in that drop box, and we spent over the course of that 40-day period over $600 with the locksmith to open that up, clear everything out. You know, obviously money that we had, we wanted to spend for that, but you know, fortunately ARPA monies are providing us an opportunity to have our very own drop box, which will be solely for that's not going to stop somebody from putting their tax payment in our box, and we'll make sure that we get that to the treasurer. But yes, we'll have our own. It'll be marked Kankakee County or you know, mail ballot box. So
The other
and
thing.
that should be delivered to the county within the next month.
Cool.
You mentioned at our meeting about sending out this postcard. There was a question about getting a postcard, and that person doesn't live here anymore. So.
Right. You know, the process that we did when everybody got their voter identification card, that's a process that we use to help clean up our voter files. So while, you know, it's important that we get you the information so that you know what districts that you're in and what you're entitled to vote on, we also use it as part to help maintain the integrity of our database. So those cards that came back to our office, and you know, of the 69,000 cards that we sent out, we got at least 5,000 cards back. And those cards, we send out a forwardable notice to all of those people saying, hey, you know, our records are showing that you're not at this address anymore, fill out this and send it back to us. If that card comes back from the post office undeliverable, or the voter fills it out and said, yeah, I've moved to Kentucky, you know, take me out of the system, we'll make the appropriate decisions. If it's somebody that's moved within the county, we'll use it to update their registration.
And then you're going to send them again. You're going to send, do you want to?
We send the voter identification cards out, you know, on a periodic basis to people who update their registration, but, you know, as part of the mass process to clean up our files every 2 years.
But you had mentioned that we're going to get
this is a different postcard. The postcard that we had sent out in 2020 requesting, you know, if people were interested in voting by mail, that's now state statute. We will be sending that postcard out to all of the registered voters, unless you've already signed up to be on the permanent vote by mail list, which is also new. So if you wish to receive a ballot for the 2020 general election, we're required to send it out 90 days prior to any general election, 90 days prior to any consolidated election. So, you know, this year I think will be close on our postage budget, but certainly for the 2023 fiscal year, we'll need to look at adjusting our numbers, because we don't send out that mass mailing to everybody in the odd years.
Okay, Mr. Eckhoff, it's number 9. Got to.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So the state of Illinois did another unfunded mandate to the county then, right?
The state did not provide us any money to do
Okay.
this mailing.
Thank you.
Question answered. Anything else? Well, we got 7 more questions there.
All righty.
Thank you lots.
Anything else, stop by the office and holler. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.
One more.
No.
Okay.
You'll stop by. Stop by. Okay, Mr. Blair is here. He'll be coming up. While he's coming, if someone will move that we accept the assessor's report. Ms. Peters and Ms. Hudson. Peters, Ms. Hudson, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion is carried. Thank you. You can turn in your packet to Eric's report and what he would like to tell us. And I have you.
Good morning. I just have some things to go over with you since it's been a while since I've reported to you. All the way back in November, I wasn't available in December, and we didn't have the meeting in January. So since I last spoke with you, we did complete the Board of Review hearings process. I ensured that there was no equalization needed at the Board of Review level. I delivered the final abstract to the county clerk on December 28th, so we completed the work in the same year we started. I held the annual meeting with the Township Assessors, which is a statutory requirement, on December 29th. We rolled the DevNet system to the 2022 year on January 13th. Prepared the books for distribution to the Township Assessors on January 14th. I answered all the questions to the Department of Revenue pertaining to the final abstract, and we actually did get the final abstract certification from the Department of Revenue. I believe that was on January 25th. So we did make a lot of progress here, and we're in good shape as far as the clerk being able to get ready to cut tax rates when he's prepared to do so. The biggest thing that I'm waiting on right now is the detailed sales list from the Department of Revenue, which I've had come as early as late February, but it's also come as late as early June. So I don't know exactly when that's going to come from the Department of Revenue. They did a really good job of getting the final abstract certified, so I'm hoping that they'll get us that detailed sales list pretty quickly in the spring here. But that was really and then the other thing that we're going to be doing here very shortly is senior freeze applications are going to be ramping up quite a bit in my office. So with that, I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Is there a question, Mr. Snipes?
Just for the purpose of clarification, because senior is a variable, can you kind of articulate what senior as far as age means to that?
Sure. The senior freeze and any senior application in our office is 65 years old, and the income qualification for the freeze is still $65,000 for the household. The legislature hasn't changed that in a little while. It's still $65,000.
Is that helpful?
Okay, right. So if they're making $65,001, they won't be eligible.
If their income shows that they make more than $65,000, they're not eligible for the senior freeze. That's correct.
And it's per household, even. It's not per person.
Right. It's for the whole, anyone who lives in the household.
Putting their monies together.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? My concern for you always is that review period when you have all those appointments and people, reviewing their assessments. So that went well. You were able to take care of all of them, and
yeah. I mean, we did move through the appeal process pretty well. Certainly there's going to be some that are going to end up having to file at the state level, and you know that does happen on an annual basis. So a lot of those haven't come through yet. We don't even know who's filed at PTAB yet. I looked the other day and we only had 2 for the county, and I know that's not going to be the end result.
And what is that, PTAB?
PTAB is the Property Tax Appeal Board. It's where you would take your case if you were unhappy with the the final decision made by the Board of Review.
And then they take it to the next step, and
Right.
you get a note, and you appear.
Right. It's something that comes out of Springfield, and I believe they usually come to the counties, but I don't know what they're doing now with COVID. They might be making you come to them. I'd have to check with PTAB to see how that's working.
Mr. Wheeler is 10.
How far behind are they on these cases? I know it's substantial. How many years?
I would say at least 2.
2 years. So stuff that's appealed now with PTAB, it's going to be 2 years before that's heard.
Probably so. Yes.
In the interim, though, they're paying taxes on what you have decided.
That is true. And then there's a period of potential refund that comes out of that.
Sure. Or more. It would always be a refund. It wouldn't be that they have to owe more.
The PTAB does have the autonomy to raise an assessment, but it doesn't happen very often.
No, I wouldn't think so. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day, folks.
Please.
Same to you.
Next up, turn into for your report from the recorder Gadboy, and she's unable to be here today, but you have her complete report in the amount of $154,000 for the month. So we'll accept your motion to approve her report. Mr. Eckhoff again. Anyone else? Mr. Snipes will second it. Any discussion about her report? It's just that it's consistently good, and she would tell us how positive things are in the county if she were here. So, so all in favor of her report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion is carried. Okay, we turn next in your agenda to the animal control. Carrie Laird, please come forward, and you're looking at your report. There are many, many statistics on Carrie's report. So we'll ask her to we'll ask. We do approve her report, right? So who moves that? Mr. Carrico, Ms. Peters will second. Carrico, Peters, and all in favor of her accepting her report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion's carried. Highlights.
The UP-TIP fund, I get that from another department. It did not come in time, so I did not put it on the report. Last month, our yearly total was $372,000, which I don't think anything has changed. Maybe a couple more dollars have been added to that.
Wait, did you say 300 some dollars?
That's what I have for last year.
Oh, last year.
$372,000 last year's total. I don't have it on here because I don't have the totals. This is from December's report.
So did you say 263,000?
That was last year.
Yes,
But,
okay, so
yeah.
what you're saying, I don't have this year's. You don't
Right.
have the little blank in the front of
Yes,
it. Okay.
yep.
Okay, so wonder, anyhow, you still have at least that.
Yeah, I believe we have $372,000 is what.
Okay,
Well, we've taken money out, that's right. So it's $263,000 is what it should have been.
okay.
So I'll have it next month.
Still
for
a
you.
lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a nice amount of money, so, what else?
It was brought up during AWAC, the number of animals euthanized. I was just looking through totals, and over 20 of them, animals euthanized, were owner-elect euthanasia. We do that a lot at our building. So yearly total to date was 37, and then we had 30 or 20 total for owner-elect throughout the year so far, December and January.
The second page of her report says that even more detailed about euthanasia, but in this case, in this particular report, there were 5 by behavior sick injured. Correct. So there was something going on with those animals that they weren't going to live a good life otherwise.
Right, exactly. So. One other thing on the back side is the wildlife. Those are most all bats, and the owner-elect ones, we are still helping out Iroquois County, so we had to break it down. They still count as our euthanasia totals, but we are helping Iroquois out because they don't have a veterinarian, so we euthanize their bats and then send them in for them, and they pay us for that.
Total animals processed in the month were 82, which is a lot of work.
It is.
So-
We were very busy last month. It's nice that this month there's another officer training in our office. So one officer left, another one of the kennel techs applied for the position, stepped up in that position, and then we just backfilled those ways. So we're looking for part-time right now, but it's nice that there is some downtime to train. So it's been great.
Your vehicles are in good order? Yeah.
A lot of high miles on them,
Yeah.
which is
You see at
gonna
the
happen.
bottom left corner there?
And then the van is still being worked on at Kankakee Truck right now, so it
Is
should
it-
be anticipated being done fairly soon.
The cages and things is what you're doing in there?
Yep.
Okay. The other highlight you often make is under cats, for example, the T24, meaning no matter how many cats you had in house, T20 transferred out.
We transferred 24 cats, and actually we were able to assist with a grant from Spay, Illinois, and Shelter from the Storm there in Wisconsin. So we were able to assist them. So that means more help coming down from those two areas to get cats out of our area and into adoptable homes.
Homes, yeah, forever home is like a hundred thing. Okay, anything else, any other questions about that? So you were on the committee for the building for the county though, so that was good news. There is, I mean, that's in our history to talk about building for the future, so.
So hopefully that'll be coming in, but I don't know, have any more details than that, so.
No, but that, just to say it's in the vote,
Yeah.
it works, so. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's stay here a second.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Parker, what would you add from the other meeting then?
We met last Wednesday, and first, Carrie, I want to thank you because the information that we get from you on your reports goes out to the people on the committee, and it clears up a lot of questions and confusions. So that's been very helpful for all of us, you know, the two vets and as well as the shelter people. It's really valuable. We had a lot of conversation. We're not ready to bring anything to community service quite yet, but I would say down the road, we're going to be able to present something I think is very important to the community, to this committee. And that was about it. We had a really good conversation, about an hour and a half. A good talk. It was all business, though, all business. So
Absolutely.
all business.
Okay.
But thank you, Carrie, so much for your help.
Thank you very much for cooperating. Okay, so when you look into the minutes from December, the motion was made at the end, the last motion was to approve reviewing request for qualifications for social services. So that date was December 21st. Okay, so what happened since that time? So this is the packet. There was a committee formed. This is a packet of a committee that was formed after that date. And inside the packet is a calendar. So I can tell you what happened since we met. This is what happened. On December 21st, a request for qualifications was posted and advertised. So that's what this first part here is. This is the request for qualifications for social services. So let me read you the purpose of that request. The purpose of the partnership for the social services program and grant manager is to formulate social service programming targeting the impacts of the pandemic and thus reducing the economic and human cost exacerbated by the pandemic without fostering competition among the services provided. Got that? So it's just to help fund services to people who have been negatively affected by the pandemic and the economy, I would say, just generally that. So from that, then, the proposals were due January 21st. They arrived. January 26th, the proposals were opened at Finance Committee. And any of you were on Finance Committee? Yes. Ms. Parker, you remember that it was opened at Finance Committee. Okay. From January 31st to February 4th, proposals to select a team and interviews happened. So that's what happened next. And who was on that committee? Let me see my sheet here where that was. What I know is from this committee were Ms. Bryan, Mr. Alexander I was going to say Hamilton, no, Alexander, Mr. Alexander Hildebrand, and who was the fourth person on the committee? Miss Polk. Miss Polk was on the committee, and I'm the fourth person. And besides that, Mr. Hess was on the committee, Mr. Hunter, and then Ms. Beckman was here, and Mr. Wheeler, and Mr. McCarty. Did you hear all those important things that were going on? Good, solid committee. We met by Zoom on February 2nd to talk about creating questions for the interview. We created questions and procedure. What are we going to do here? We're going to analyze from the proposal. Can whoever is selected, whoever this committee selects to get the services proposals, are they going to do a good job? Do they have a track record? Can they do the job in the time? Can they help us out with it? And that was done. So that was the 2nd of February. After that, the next date was February 10th. On February 10th, we met in this room with the committee and the one person who submitted a request for proposal, and this was called RINCON. Say it for me again. RINCON. So even though it is RINCON, it's RINCON. Okay, and this was their material that they submitted to us. But the nicest thing about our committee work is the county administration, Anita and Kelly, I bet, did you have part of this too? A little bit. Provided all this that has in it the response of RINCON, their attachments, and the references. So we have in the back of this what their staff and their credentials of their staff. Who's done what? How do they do this? What have they done? And in what you have, getting down to what you have, in your packet, you have 10 pages. You agree with that, right? Mm-hmm. There are some important pages in that I would like to point out to you, and you've probably read it and gone through it. But the pages are page 5, 7, and 9. Hmm? So in page 5 of your packet, of your pages there, page 5 has the numbers of grants, the amount of grants that the RINCON has received in the past and what they've done with them, how they've helped social services. On page 7 is a list of the persons, the team that work together in their titles. And on page 9, on the bottom of page 9, are the agencies in this community that they have worked with before. So those, to me, all of those were impressive, very impressive things. Plus, we had in our meeting, we had Mr. Borreo, thank you, Borreo, who did a very good job. Sat right here and did a very good job. Others were on Zoom from their other offices, answered our questions, and we asked questions. So, Ms. Beckman, would you come forward for me a little bit, because she was so instrumental as Mr. Wheeler in presenting us and providing the committee with such good information and helpful information. So, think about what your questions might be. Well, she's going to tell us something else. The company has been in business from 1972. They have a bond that was very important. Mr. Wheeler found that important, so that if anything goes wrong, the bond will secure the finances and we wouldn't be lost with them. What else would you add? I haven't said. Okay.
I think for this committee, if you look at what their strengths are, it's a lot of experience in both federal and state grants. They're GATA certified. We received 2 years of both their audited financial statements and their single audit. They fall under the guidelines of over $750,000 worth of federal grants, so there's an additional audit that has to be some other additional testing of those federal grants that has to occur in your audit, and so that was provided as well. So the experience with the financial requirements in federal grants is extensive. They have extensive experience, I think, in working with some partners here in this area. They mentioned specifically Dwayne Dean, so, and I think Helen Wheeler as well, that they've worked with the organizations here in our community. So although their main office is located outside our community, they have extensive relationships here. So I think that's critical and aware of our community and the community's needs. So
what she mentioned is this is a Chicago office on Kedzie Avenue, but this is our in-town office of the company, 367 South Schuyler. Just down the road 3 blocks, and this is a picture of it too. So in our local community, there is a site that they work out of with the Dwayne Dean and with other areas too, and they're anxious to work here too. So I think, Ms. Ryan, do you want to add anything while you were able to meet that day? What would you add?
I'm just really impressed by their fiscal responsibility and the data that they're able to demonstrate their success with the populations that they work with. When you're doing social work, it's not always measured by the bottom line, which is very good. You need a solid bottom line, but it's also measured by success cases, and they aren't always success cases, but you want to have a way of tracking how well people do when they receive your services. So yes, they do.
Why I was pausing is because one of the things you asked the question about was, did you get an answer back?
I didn't get an answer.
But no. One of the things was it safety belts, wasn't it, or driver?
Right.
I'm sure that, and it was available. We just don't have
in a particular area. They touted two examples of where they've partnered on different programs, and the question from the community or from the committee was, do you have numbers? So there were a certain number of events and number of people that were there, and is there some statistics in terms of the number of tickets for seatbelt abuse prior to their events and after, and maybe fatalities before and after in this particular area, but no, I haven't received that.
But they agreed that they have that. They have the statistics. And in their material that you have, those 10 pages, they helped with the census and contacted 66,000 people. They helped with immigration and were able to had $720,000 to help assist people with immigration and refugees. They had a $1 million award for housing and a utility program. They had $50,000 to help in substance abuse, $408,000 for mental health, and $700,000 for early response team. So that's just an idea that they have a grant. You see one of the persons is a grant writer, and they have grants, and that's good. The last, and now if you have questions, ask them. But what I think was the important question that you asked was, what could be a roadblock? What could be a roadblock? Because this can't be all flowers. There could be things that could go wrong. And what I appreciated most is that we were given 3 possible roadblocks, and you'll recognize them. Human capital. You can present and offer all the services you want, but if you don't have the humans trained to be the specialists and the technicians, you can't reach the public. And the company recognized that. So what do they have? Training processes. They are going to do that. And then also pay scales, having pay go up, that people would be wanting a job with this group.
Same issues we all face, every employer faces at this point.
And the third is really dear to my heart, technology. Getting technology to people so that they could get doctor services and go to school and be trained even at home through technology. If that's recognized by this company, then there's a way to fix that company too. And last of all, the most important thing is how will the company find out what's needed? And you know what it might be? An assessment. And they have done this with the Dwayne Dean system and made an assessment, decided what was needed, and went on to fix it then. So I'm just excited, and I was happy I was here. I have a whole table full of things and material and present to you too. So, Mr. Wheeler, what would you add to what we've said?
Just that Mr. McCarty and Anita spoke to that as well. I want to make sure I could speak for him here. He looked through everything. They have his financial blessing, if you will. They do things the right way and don't have any non-conformances that are substantial or even existent at this point. We haven't seen any non-conformances, even minor, in their audits. So
No, there were zero findings for the two years.
If they've been in business since 1972, someone's going to put dot the I wrong or cross the T wrong. Those are minor, but there's been nothing major that we have either seen or heard about, and just the opposite. The other thing is that they took the time to go find out what it would be to be bonded and have secured that ability to be bonded. So if one of the subrecipients that happens to be executing part of a program that we decide we want them to manage for us, they do something wrong or things go sideways or they don't have their paperwork in order, our partner, in this case, if it's Rincon, they would be bonded to pay the federal government back in case the federal government would say we want our money back. That was essential, and that's one of the major reasons we did this. We don't have the human capital to administer these types of programs that we have. We don't have the people for them. We don't have the experience to manage. Rincon has the ability to go out and get grants that supplement the work that we want to do and combine it with, where possible, the other federal money to target what comes out of a needs assessment in the community. So if we pick the top 5 things, we want to target those top 5 things, and then have the data to support that we had an impact or didn't have an impact.
Yes.
That's what we're looking to do. And these guys checked all those boxes. So, and we wanted a local connection. That was in the RFP. We had people from outside the area that just have offices wherever. And we wanted people that knew that the turf here, the lay of the land, the not-for-profits that we have here, the work that's being done, the history, because they have to be able to slide right in. And our local not-for-profits don't need to see them as a threat, because we're just not handing money over to somebody. We are going to determine where money goes and which programs we fund. They're going to help us administer that and make recommendations how to make them better, and then provide the data and all of the financial reporting and everything. So I want to make sure the committee knew that, because there was some misconception, even within county government, that we're just going to give a chunk of money to somebody and say go to work. It could not be farther from the truth. We are going to be micro on this, and it's going to be a lot of work. But then once we start that ball rolling, we're going to be able to adjust it and measure it as the years go on. That's through 26.
Sure.
If we allocate now, we can allocate through 26.
And continue. That was sustainability was one of the words the committee presenter used a lot. That after we're finished with the 2 years, we go on with it. This is the nicest email we got recently. It says, Mr. McCarty says, we find no issues on the financial side for Rincon. And that when you have Mr. McCarty tell you that, then you're feeling fine. We also were presented with 4 pages of their plans through 2026 of where this could go if we partner with this group too. And we, in our proposal materials, received many pages of financials so that we could examine just all the things too. So we had things. And I like the last thing that was said to us is the hub and spokes. Oops. No more talking.
That's probably everybody's thinking before
We can hear you, but not as loud. I'll get it after.
The hub and spokes meeting that this company, that Rincon will be the hub, and the service agencies in the community would be the spokes, and up at the top is the money. So that would be the way it would be there too. That we aren't discussing a dime today. We're discussing and deciding if this company seems like it could meet the needs that we have for this partnership. So, yeah, you're on. Okay, are you finished? You're on.
No, I'm just saying you can turn it off.
I will.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Are you impressed? Are you smiling under those masks? It was just delightful to find townspeople, people that could help us in town, and who knew. And I was anticipating Mr. Hunter being here today, because he is an advocate for sure and has worked along with some of these programs and would be, tell us for a while what he likes about it, so. Okay, so I think if you have nothing more after all this presentation, which of you, Mr. Snipes, what would you like to say?
Kind of just reading some of the information with the Kankakee warming house, I guess they have here, and some of the other things. What is the, I mean, we do have some family services here, and then I see that there's some crossing with Dwayne Dean. As far as that's concerned, what distinguishes them to be, I guess, somewhat different? Is it that we don't have enough of them, or is it just that they have an added service? I see they reach out to the Latino community as well from the preview. So what addition do they offer in like Kankakee County? You know, because I see there's a wider range of things that they do. They have the living room program, and I'm trusting that probably Nancy Ojeda and them are familiar with them because they kind of offer the same, or have been offering the same things. That the living room program seems to kind of work for individuals to get them out of the problematic area to an area where they can kind of calm down, relax, and then have counselors available to them. I see that on Martha's has signed on, Helen Willer. I'm looking at some of the others that the NAACP and all of those. So they give credence to the program, but I'm kind of wondering how else outside the scope of what we have, are they just another additive in order to deal with the general population because it's growing?
Because it's growing, I think the word was coordination, so that, you know, the word was not to compete, but to find the strengths of different organizations of social service in the community and coordinate them.
And then offer them to the people.
Yes, so.
So they're like the one-stop shop for when it comes to almost like Catholic Charities or whatever when they are.
No, not that, so hold on.
Now, again, we're way off on this. Again, we put out an RFQ looking for someone to be our administrative arm and to consult with us about things that we want to do and to conduct a community needs assessment and design our grants and what we want to do. They are going to decide nothing as far as where the money goes. That's still here. They are not merely, designed specifically to be our arm in this area to assist us. So they were the only respondent to this, and they are a qualified respondent in my opinion. So we are not just handing money to somebody, and we're not even using Rincon for any services whatsoever. Okay, they're just showing that they have experience in the areas that was in the RFQ about workforce development, substance abuse, mental health, the connections between all of those, recidivism, all of that stuff. And we were looking for people that have worked in those areas because they would know how to design and administer grants, because guess what? They've applied for those grants and they've done that before. So we want to be, in essence, the federal government releasing funding opportunities and then having that fall under their umbrella, and they manage it for us.
They manage.
We're just not giving them total carte blanche to decide or do, or if it wasn't them, the person who we would partner with, we wouldn't be giving them total carte blanche to do everything. We want to make this money go as far as it can for as long as it can. Figure out what works, and then decide how do we fund that going forward, because ARPA money is not sustainable. Only if you use it for infrastructure is it sustainable. Okay, I look at this as, well, to steal a phrase, almost human infrastructure for the area on a local level. We have an opportunity to actually have a petri dish here in Kankakee County to see if we can make it work better than others.
Or as really make it work, period, would be good. Ms. Bryan, what would you add to that? 7.
Thank you for recognizing, Madam Chair. I'd like to, it's more like if I may, a brokerage of services. It's, you know, this is the hub of the wheel and...
Speak into the microphone.
Okay. Sorry, I was addressing Mr. Snipes. If you could think of it more as a brokerage of services, not competing, but like when you come to them, they will be able to tell you, you know, that we're financing different surfaces that are already existing. I don't know if that helps.
Well, it's coordinating, cooperating, evaluating.
Yes.
Collaborating.
Right.
Right. So what I'm just saying here is I'm just looking at some of the background. Say the Recon Family Services dedicated to rendering compassionate and effective programs that promote the quality of life by serving as a catalyst for advocacy, education, empowerment of individuals and families. And then it goes into the living room program, the violence intervention program, which is something that the state's attorney and some of the other in the school districts, it looks like as they stand on, can basically utilize it. So I'm looking at the incubator of services as well. So we're saying that we're not using their services, we're just going to use their expertise in order to get the grant monies for the county to be able to do what we're doing with COVID-19, the ARPA funds, being able to disseminate it to programs that are benefiting our community is what I'm understanding. So they work as a catalyst to help bring in additional funds to basically strengthen the programs that we already have, and maybe look at those that we perhaps might need in this county. So they're looking at an assessment, and then they're basically saying, hey, there's some grant money, so it takes off of us that responsibility from looking, and it helps those programs that are here. So that's why I'm saying it's not competing, but it looks like it's an added service to kind of help those that are here, and then also the potential of getting things that we may need that we don't have that we should have.
I like what you're saying. I think that's good. And you like it too, don't you? You like to hear that. That's good stuff. So, okay, Mr. Eckhoff, what do you want?
I'd like to make the motion to approve to allow the chairman to authorize and negotiate an agreement with this company.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Parker will second it. Is there any other discussion other than we have great hopes for this, great hopes for it. So then, therefore, all in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. So we aren't. What happens next? Go back to our.
The next steps is to I have to set up an appointment. We'll sit down and we'll start talking about what this framework looks like. You know, in terms of do they expect to be paid off of new grants administration fees, which is typical. We may pay them, a certain amount of money, and by this is all out of ARPA money, COVID money. Actually, ARPA proper money. It's not the lost revenue side. It's what the COVID money was meant for. Mm-hmm. So we'll get together a community needs assessment, invite as many in the community to this, and I say community. This is countywide. Mm-hmm. That's the sandbox we're playing in, and so we have to keep it in the county. There is probably going to be a little bit of crossover where you talk about workforce development and training programs and stuff that may just be a GSU. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's within reason, but it's a microcosm of the county. The needs of Essex aren't the same as the needs of Hopkins Park and Pembroke Township, and it's the same as Salmons Point and Chemance. Well, the north side of Chemance. So I guess I'm just, the good side. Sorry. Sorry. The part in Kankakee County, should I say. It was a joke. It was a shot. But what I'm getting at is that we need to find out what's working and what's not working, and then what has and why. And then maybe we can help fill those gaps.
Sure.
And that's the low-hanging fruit. But then we also talk about we need to have workforce involved in that discussion. Absolutely. And, the mental health community and everybody. We need to figure out where we're going to go with these top 5 and get them ranked first. Mm-hmm. So that's, in order to put a price to that, we have to kind of put that scope together. So. And
then, based on what you just said, February 23rd is the Finance Committee, and that's where you're hoping to bring it to?
I'm hoping.
Wouldn't that be wonderful next week?
Yeah, it would be nice, but it's going to be tough.
But it would be nice.
Yeah, oh, I know, but there's a lot to work through.
But
And I would say that's probably unrealistic.
Do you?
Because the state's attorney's office would kill me if I said I need a contract for next week.
Oh, that's true.
So it's probably going to be the next month.
March.
Yeah.
Because after that is the negotiate agreement with selected organization and award the
Yeah, the
contract.
timeline is not going to
gonna be off
met
a little.
on that. Yeah, there's
But
no way.
We've come a long way. I think that's the important part of it. And if you have any other discussion, no, we still need to vote. So all in favor of approving, recommending this company to be negotiated with, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that, say no. Okay, motion carried. Very well done. Nice discussion, nice presentation. So, thank you, Ms. Fenneman. Anything else you'd like to add? Would you like to mention that, Mr. Wheeler, would you like to mention what you emailed this morning to us about? Or can you mention that here? It's a community effort.
It's just, if you know, I sent a list of county-related bills in the legislature. Take a look at it if you have an opinion on anything. Executive committee is going to be meeting and discussing these and recommending opposition or support for those bills.
Yeah.
I've asked our department heads that are related to those areas under administration. Obviously, sheriff has his own association in the corner, and everybody else has their own. You know, so you can follow those with them. But I'm talking about just the county-related things like removing all local control over wind farm siting.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I think our local residents may be against that. Somebody in Springfield making that decision locally.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I've spoken with our lobbyist on this 3 times in the last week, and both I and Will County have, and the person submitting that bill has put it on hold for this legislative session. But it's things like that.
Yeah.
So take a look at it, see what you think, ask questions, look it up on the Google, you know, you see what's going on there. You know, see I don't have all the ins and the outs, but I have a pretty good idea of where they're at. So
okay.
Yeah.
The particular one is from this morning, 7:36 a.m., where it says, please look at this opposition to, because someone else is now opposing the gas pipeline in Pembroke. So there's a site for us to oppose it. Isn't that what we would make a motion?
It's a witness slip.
Witness
if you
slip
want to oppose it. If
opposing
you want
it.
to support the representative from the west side of Chicago on keeping natural gas that she has in her house away from the residents in Hopkins Park, go ahead. But I'd say I wouldn't do that.
Look at this. Mr. Sipes, what would you add?
I'm thinking, because I was out in Pembroke, and I hear those individuals that are some of their concerns, and I guess it's valid to their credence, but I am the proponent of bringing the natural gas line, and I have spoken with individuals that are supporters of what they call the Climate Equitable Job Act, something that we need to look in. I think that they can work hand in hand with each other, but I do believe that they have propane out there now, which is quite expensive concern, I mean, in relations to the pipeline that's coming out there. The other thing is that to deny them the opportunity to enjoy the privileges that urbans and other areas around them have it'd be, to me, oxymoronic in that on KCCS side, SI side, we generally help with the bills or whatever. However, if you have the natural gas out there, they can't cut it off from November to almost April. Not so with propane. You run out, you can't get them.
Truly.
So you have to understand the pros and cons. And there's a concept that I learned in school when I was taking philosophy called Plato. Plato says, "What's the greatest good?" And I think the pipelines coming out, in my opinion, and sharing that with others, is the greatest good for the greater number of people that are out there, and I think it's a step in the right direction. You're always going to have the naysayers. I was out there, don't want to say the name, but when Begloria shut down the facility that was coming out there, when Ryan was out there to basically build up and put a prison, people say no, people say no, people say no. Now we have an infrastructure that's out there. So, I mean, you're going to have the naysayers, but what we have to focus on is what is the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Is their voices that we need to listen to, and then we also have to look at the future impact. And I believe that that's a step again in the right direction.
Yep, I think your words are wise and well taken, because we agree with you. So, if you have no other business, which of you, Ms. Peters, wants to adjourn? Mr. Say it again. Kirkstra. I was looking at Eckhoff and look at Kirkstra. So Mr. Kirkstra will second it. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no.